And we're back. Welcome to the round table from part 2 of Group B for GFC Round 1. I am here with Animated J, Lust, and Jump. And Jay, why don't you go ahead and remind everybody what the topic for this round table is?
Totally. So the topic for this round table is, how do you train for a contest? How do you approach the contest? So again,
Well,
my experience in the dance world, dance convents, like people might just drill foundation, or they might do exchanges with others, or they might just like seclude themselves for a bit and then just go to the event. So what are some what's your approach? How do you prepare?
I want to preface this. I'm not going to give any specific details yet. I'm going to let the judges speak first. But I do want to say that for anybody that's watching, the things that you hear in this following roundtable, we are in the and decade. So all the things that we're suggesting, it's not which one do you do first, or it's not which one do you do, it's which one do you do first. So any of these suggestions, like, try all of it. If you're trying to compete more, or you want to compete, like, anything and everything that is suggested can be tried, because if it works for one person, it can work for somebody else. It may not, but it can. You will only know if it works for you if you actually try, or if you take my competitive mentality class. But I'll let the judges take it away from here. So who wants to take this one up first?
So the question was, how do I prep for competitions and everything like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how do you, like, let's say,
or approach it.
totally, there's a contest coming up, you want to enter. Is there anything specific you might do to prepare, or even when you're at the event, maybe what are some things to maybe get you used to it? Or what's your experience preparing or approaching a contest?
I mean, preparing beforehand, obviously making sure you have like your correct set of glove set, correct modes and everything, fresh whites, fresh bats, all that. That's first thing. Coming into it, as far as like practicing wise, I don't have a lot of light show friends around me and everything like that, so it's mainly like me practicing like with myself. If I have a chance, like, to practice with somebody else, then I can do that. But I don't go into like everything. I kind of, honestly, I'll tell you, like, straight up, competition wise, I treat it as like much as like a festival type of thing. I go in there, I do the damn thing, and that's about it. So it's kind of like, I'm like, here for the light show, ready to go. 1, 2, 3, let's go, and you get what you get.
Sorry to cut you off there. What's going through your mind between rounds with that mentality when you walk in?
Between rounds, so like say round 1, round 2.
Like just during the competition, like you describe very in detail, like the way with which you approach and you enter the competition. But once you're there, like, it's definitely not the same as at a festival. So
No.
what's different, in your head, around you? What are you doing differently? Like,
What am I doing?
anything that comes to your mind that would fit there?
I would say I'm just kind of like, thinking in my head, like, I know, because, like, you have that time limit as far as like your live shows. If I'm not the first person to go, and like, I'm able to see the first round, I'm able to kind of catch on to see, like, what the DJ or whoever, how they start off, like the track, and basically knowing how many seconds do I have until, like, that drop hits. So then I'm able to like cheat my way into it, I guess you could say, and be able to deliver it on when I'm going into my round and, like, give my show.
Nice.
Awesome.
And how about you, Lus? Because again, like I've heard you've had pretty much a lot of experience going to battles over the years. Or it's funny because I would call them battles, but you wouldn't call them battles. But
Comp.
again, comps.
Battle Royale.
Right. So again, like what's your approach? How do you go into it?
I think my mentality has changed a lot over the years. I've been competing since around 2013, and that comp I just did for fun. It was a Northern Lights comp. That was the first time I met Reaction. First time I met the captain. So it was a really cool environment, just to meet other glovers. I was like brand new to actually trading with people.
Mhm.
And once I went to the Texas bosses, it was like way more serious. Like, and you just wanted to. You never want to lose a match you think you should have won. Like that's like a hard mentality to get over. Like, oh, I should have done this in my show. Oh, I should have done this in my show. And actually, my first Dallas boss, Teddy, was the head judge, and he judged my match. And I got so nervous that I did a mode change, and like I swear that I had 4 different sets going on 10 fingers. And I ended up losing round 1, and I was so discouraged, but he actually pulled me aside and gave me a few tips that ended up really helping me. But in general, I tend to have a lot of anxiety with competitions. At IGC, I was actually invited to the Impacting Invitationals and the Tutting Invitationals. And I actually had a panic attack in the IGC 2016 bathroom, like was on the floor, not handling it well. So, I probably don't have the best advice to prepare, but at 4KC, I had the time of my life, and I think that just shows how my mentality with gloving has changed over the years. Because, if you're not doing this for fun, then you really have to reevaluate why you're putting so much time into it if you're not enjoying it. If I'm going to a competition and I'm spending 8 hours there and I'm miserable for those 8 hours, like why am I going to the competition, right? I'm going to have fun. I'm going to compete. I'm going to test my best. And I think you just have to try to get in that mentality that win or lose, you're gonna have a great time.
So it sounds like it's what you tell yourself, what a person tells themselves, why they are there. Why are they there to compete? Are they there? Because you mentioned that 4K, that it was you had a great time, and what was the elements that maybe nurtured that experience? What was it?
I think a big part of it is community. I actually had 6 people pay to get me out there because I totaled my car.
Mm.
Actually, Jump was one of them. And it was just a really, like, I had a bunch of Photon family there. I had friends that I've met. I'm hitting 10 years in a few months, so I've met a lot of glovers over the years. And just I think that's the best part of competitions, is literally there's 100 or so people there. There's 100 people you never get to see except once in a blue moon, and you get to socialize, you get to be there, and then you get to test your skills. And it all comes down to like that moment. But I actually have a question for the group. Would you rather go first or second, and why?
Oh, okay.
Go
Uh,
first, Teddy.
actually, I don't mind going first. It's definitely fun, but I definitely prefer to go second, if given the option. There isn't a factor if I know the person is, and I don't know, and this may just be a me thing, but if I know the person might be nervous against me, I would go first just to set the factor in. My concern with doing that would be that I ignite them so far that they could push past me. But thankfully, when I competed, I didn't really have an idea that anybody was past me. At least in the competition, obviously. Once the competition's over, like everybody's equal and like we're all the same humans. Like nobody's better than anybody else. But when it comes to in the tournament, I run that game. That's mine. But it's interesting you mentioned 4KC. I'm so glad you had fun, and I'm very glad you got to come out for that. It was very awesome having Photon there and having you there and having all the PM there and everything. It was a lot of good things back and forth. Oh man, now I want a light show. Jump, you wanna add to
So
this?
bad.
I don't want a light show. Definitely, like, when it comes down to it, like, I don't mind going first or second, but just like Teddy said, like, I like to go second. I mean, also for me, it depends on the person. Like, I can either, like, just give them what I got, but like if it's somebody who I want to see what they have, and then I'm like, all right, now I gotta one up you right now.
Yeah.
Then guess what? We're going for it. So that's all I gotta say. I mean, that's how I feel about it. So I mean, if I had my choice, number two.
And actually, Jay, before you get to your answer, I want to elaborate on yours specifically because battles are different. Battles, you have rounds. So it can be like 2 or 3 rounds. So you could face someone, right? And gloving, there's no rebuttal, right? There's no rebuttal. It's like you have your show and that's it, right? It's minute 30, 2 minutes, whatever it is. But in a dance battle, like if it's one-on-one, like it could be like 30 seconds here, 30 seconds here, or 60 seconds here, 60 seconds here, or and vice versa. And it can go 2, 3 rounds. So A, how would you feel about battling with only one round? Would you go first or second? And then how is it different from multiple rounds?
Totally. Okay, so if it's only one round, would I go first or second? So typically when there's like preliminaries, like they're getting like their top 30, top 16, top whatever, they only have enough time for like one round. So again, I think for the most part, I'm gonna talk for myself, but also this is what I believe for most dancers, that they would prefer to go second. Just because they get to listen to the song, they're getting to watch their opponent do their thing, and they're also still feeling the vibe. They're getting into it. They're listening to the song. You're like unconsciously or subconsciously getting ready, And then also the fact that you get to go second, it's like you get this last impact on the judges. Like, whatever I did,
Yeah.
if I can blow it up, that will be the last thing. And they can't do anything about it because it's only one round. So I would say, again, going second. Now, you were saying about Teddy. Can you tell me the second part of that question? If there was.
Sure. So as someone who has competed in events with multiple rounds versus obviously seeing this with a one round, what do you see immediately as different? Like, because Glovers know that there's no way there's ever going to be a second round all the way to the finals. So
Mhm.
do you see anything different in their intention or in what they do or what they don't do that differs from dancers who have multiple rounds in their battles?
Well, I think there's a lot of different things because, like, again, we use the same, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like, we use the same track. Like, in a typical battle, it's like, this is the track, and like, you do your thing, and wherever that person stops, like, you're gonna go and finish that song. It's not like we're gonna restart the song so everyone gets back into it. So that plays a role. It's very like, what's going on right now, and you're like, it's interesting because there's a mindset too. It's almost like, you want to top what they did, so you're watching what they do. You're also pacing yourself, because if it's going to go multiple rounds, you don't want to give it all you got in the first round, because then you're like exhausted by the third round. um Again, I think it's there's like this more battle mentality. That's why it's called battles versus comps, like in the street dance world.
Mhm.
It's, you really want to go and like battle, like you want to go and show the person and the audience that you're there to dominate. And like there's this one popper, his name is Kite. He's like from Japan, and like he says his mentality when he goes into a battle, he's like he's like he's the excuse my language, but he's the shit. Like in his mind, he's like, I go and no one's going to touch me because I know that he's confident in what he does and he is good at what he does.
That's the
So
right mentality to have.
you have to have this mentality where it's like, this is my show. Like, I'm here. I'm gonna show everyone what's up. And going into that, instead of a performance, because I know sometimes people get stuck into this performance mentality or just sessioning, and it's different from a battle. Like a performance, you're showing the audience, the energy is towards the audience. In a battle, it's like, I'm going towards you, my opponent, and I'm going to show everyone I'm going towards him. Was that answering some of your questions, Teddy?
Yes, and actually it made me think of
Yeah.
another question. The uh, you have you mentioned that there's no performance aspect in a battle. Here and in gloving competitions in general, we gauge the performance aspect as a factor of the show. So now, as someone who's experienced that, like, if you going back to, like, if you were to go to a street dance battle, would you take any of that idea with you, or would you be like, no, this is for here, and like, how would you translate that, or how would you draw from it?
The performance aspect?
The idea of measuring the performance aspect and watching how many glovers in this competition have taken that into account with their submissions.
Right. Well, I think it's beautiful. And I didn't say that there wasn't a performance in a battle. It's just that the more mentality is I'm going battling them. That doesn't say that I shouldn't perform, because one of the greatest dancers, and honestly, the person that inspired me to dance, well, one of the inspirations was Salah. Salah's from France and he's a popper. And he was a performer too. He knew how to manipulate the audience or bring the audience in while he was battling. So not only was he directing his energy towards his opponent, but he was also getting the audience to connect with him as well. Just look him up. Type in Salah, Salah, popping on YouTube, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Now, in gloving, you guys do have a scorecard of performance, character, showmanship, which I think that's dope, because I don't believe it's looked at by many judges in the street dance world. That's something I feel like if someone gets a bit too much performancy, it's almost like, oh, he's not really battling. He's more of a performer, world of dance. So you think you could dance, go on that show. That's kind of like some people might feel ways about someone that does too much emphasizing the performance aspect. But totally, you got to have both. If you can have both, you know what I'm saying? It's like you don't want to have one or the other. Have everything you can. So
I think that sort of pulls into our concepts versus traits, right? It's the showmanship versus the technicality, right? And the movement is there with both, right?
Totally, totally. And again, like another perfect example of showing showmanship and technicality. Another video, if you're looking at street dance, watch Salah, the same person I just mentioned, versus Hoen. Hoen is Hoan. He's from South Korea, I believe. Hoen is very technical, very, very technical. And Salah is more very performance. So it's interesting to see them go at it in a battle context. Definitely check it out.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of the time Starlight won Boss out in Cali, right? And it was very, such a high level of musicality and showmanship. And then you had someone who was almost like doing tuts and bone breaking and that kind of thing. And it's it's hard as a judge to really decipher which show should win unless you have a scorecard in front of you and you're like, you know what, it's up to the scorecard. I'm going to do what I think, see what comes out, because in terms of looking at both, you can have a stylistic preference. I love watching shows with very high musicality, but personally my shows have quite minimum musicality, so
I disagree.
I mean,
Don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah. Jump.
anyways,
I was gonna say, Jump. You looked like you wanted to add something a little while back to this
yeah.
concepts versus traits debate and everything. So
Oh no, it doesn't even matter now. What? I mean, like, what were we talking about? The first question, whatever. This is like, I was writing stuff from like our first questions.
Well, go.
Oh,
I was just
okay.
saying,
Well, okay.
in general, yeah. What's your thoughts
Prepping
on
for a
this?
competition, like you asked. Okay, first thing, have a good meal at the beginning of the day. Because guess what? Like you guys said, it takes a long time. You have an intermission. You maybe not have a snack. Have some water. This and that. Also, prep yourself well. Hygiene. You know that's a great thing. Smell good. Get a good light
Deodorant!
show. Like,
Deodorant!
deodorant. I'm not even gonna tell you once, tell you twice. I can
I
smell
had
you through this. I can smell you through these goddamn videos. Like, put it on. Let me tell you. But how Les was talking about her light show, giving it to Teddy, and like he was scoring it, like give her a bad score. I think it was Boss Remix in Torrance. I think it was like one of the last bosses out there. And I'm pretty sure that was the same day that I had my PM tryout, I think afterwards.
I believe
Anyways,
so. Yes.
yeah, anyways, it was like the last round, and I think this in brackets maybe, I don't know what. But this last light show was gonna basically put me to like, whatever the top 16 or whatever it goes, top 8, whatever it goes into. And my judge was PM Fresh, and the thing for that round, it was musicality. So basically, like that's what they were judging based upon, or like that was the main focus on like that show. So the song that came on for me, I went first, I think, and guess what? I fucking knew the song, so I knew I was hitting every single beat. Guess what? I didn't win that round. So you
Mm,
know what I said? I'm out.
mm,
I was pissed.
mm.
To get butthurt also from losing. I but I actually was not at 4KC. I was on such a high from such a good you know environment that I didn't even care if I won or lost. But for a long time, I really wanted to win. And, I really think it takes wanting to win to push you to actually winning, right? What do you think, Teddy?
Speaking of sour losses, I was so sour about my loss to Thumper at IGC 2012. I did not think I lost that match. In fact, I will admit that it was probably one of my lowest, or not lowest, but one of my least reputable moments of Thumper saying Thumper coming up to me afterwards and saying, "Man, hey man, that was a great match, man. I don't know how I won." And I told him, I said to his face, and I feel so bad for this. I said, "Then go tell them you lost." And I
Go
feel so
tell
bad
them.
I said, "Then go tell them you lost," and I walked off, and I feel so bad about that to this day. It was I was so heated. I was so heated, and especially because it was the
That was
first time.
prime though.
Yeah, that was, and that was before. I was arguable before my prime even. I thought I was in my prime, and I was.
But that was the IGC that he won, right? The first ever one?
Yeah, that was
It was
second
a big fucking
IGC.
deal. So yeah, you go tell them. Tell them.
Yes. No. Well, at the same time, like he also won the entire competition. So like I lost to the guy that won, so it kind of made it a little easier. So I only really felt bad about how I reacted, not necessarily to the actual action. Like in the moment, I was like, "No, man, no, no," and then I look back and I'm like, you know what? You won the whole thing. Like I can't really be mad about that. So I just feel bad about what I said. But anyway, I don't want to keep you guys and Jay here forever. I think we've had a fantastic discussion. This has been absolutely wonderful. Jay, any closing thoughts?
Any closing thoughts? I think basically, grow, learn as much as you can, eat, put some deodorant on, and just have a good time. Remember again why you're doing this. If you start feeling bitter and angry and you're not having a good time at events or doing what you love, then you might need to just take a step back and just kind of talk to yourself of why are you doing this. So
Life lessons from Animated Jay. I love it. All right, we'll see you guys on Sunday for episode 3.
Love it.
We are gonna be taking a look at the last 3 Glovers in this group, and I unfortunately closed the document, but Freebie's gonna put up a nice graphic here, and there's gonna be all the names right in this corner. You'll be able to see them. But you guys have been great. We'll see you on Sunday.
Just